Please, can I have some water? I haven't had any in 3 days. My 6-year-old grandson, William, pleaded with me when I visited my son and his wife's house. Moreover, he was chained up, unable to move. I was shocked and tried to free him, but it was impossible with my strength alone. Panicking, I reached for my phone to call my son, Benjamin, but something told me it might be better not to. Maybe I should keep this a secret from Benjamin for now. So, I contacted my husband instead. But when he arrived, he immediately got furious with William, yelling, "You little rascal! Don't mess with me!" To my horror, he started scolding William, who was already weak and helpless. The truth behind this would only come to light sometime later. I'm Mia, a 60-year-old homemaker. My husband, who's the same age, and I have been married for 35 years. Our son, Benjamin, got married at 28, and that's when William was born. When William was 3, Benjamin's wife tragically passed away in an accident. Since Benjamin had work and couldn't take care of William alone, we agreed to let them live with us. My husband and I took care of William. Yet Benjamin never seemed grateful, taking it for granted instead. William's crying is so annoying. I'm busy right now, Benjamin, why don't you comfort him? What? I'm letting you take care of my son, so you deal with it. Our only child, Benjamin, was spoiled and tended to push responsibilities onto others whenever something troublesome came up. Both my husband and I noticed this and tried to encourage him to be more conscious of his role as a father. However, on his days off, Benjamin would go out alone, never spending time with William. Why don't you take William out somewhere once in a while? He just gets in the way. He's still little, it can't be helped. I'll think about it when he's big enough to keep up with me. Reluctantly, my husband and I would take William to parks and amusement parks, so he wouldn't feel lonely. But amidst the busy yet joyful days, watching William's growth was the greatest happiness for me. But watching William grow up and hearing him say, "I love you, Grandma," with a beautiful smile, made me incredibly happy. William became the joy of my life. This routine changed when William was 5. Benjamin brought home his new girlfriend, Emma, announcing, "Emma's pregnant with my child, so we're gonna get married." Surprisingly, she was already 5 months pregnant. She had kept it a secret until she was safely past the early stages of pregnancy, especially since she had suffered a miscarriage before. Am I gonna be a big brother? Yeah, that's right. Are you happy? Yeah. Yay! Awesome! It was all so sudden, but just seeing my grandson, William, happy about having a mom made me naturally smile. So, after we get remarried, I want to live freely as a family of 4. Let us live in the house Dad's not using. Since our son, Benjamin, moved out, we've been living in an apartment, but we owned a house we used to live in. We were just about to rent it out after renovating it. If it meant Benjamin and William could be happy, my husband agreed without hesitation. I couldn't help feeling sad about living away from William, but I convinced myself that it was more important for William to have a new mom and form a family. It's only an hour's drive away, we can visit anytime we want. That's what I thought, but I started to feel that Emma's attitude changed somehow after she and Benjamin registered their marriage. When I found a blue jacket that seemed to suit William at the department store and called Emma. I want to see William's face too, may I drop by to deliver it? Huh? It's kinda troubling if you just come over to our house. Oh, are you not feeling well? Morning sickness should be almost over, right? Can I help with anything? You're being persistent. Seriously, it's annoying. What? I was so shocked I thought I heard wrong when the call was abruptly ended. I kept worrying about William and tried to contact them a few times, but each time I was given some excuse and refused a visit to their house. Moreover, Emma's attitude became increasingly irritable. I wonder if Emma dislikes me. No daughter-in-law likes their mother-in-law. I consulted my husband one day, but he responded quite bluntly. I might not see William again. I was overwhelmed by loneliness, but I thought maybe Emma was just nervous about her first childbirth. So, I refrained from contacting them for a while. About 2 months later, we were informed that Emma had given birth to a girl. However, due to the hospital's policy for preventing colds and such, we couldn't visit. Then, please let us see the baby once you're discharged. And I waited for that day, but weeks passed without any contact. So, I called my son, Benjamin. I haven't seen William in so long, and I want to see the newborn baby. I'm at work right now, man. I'm busy, so please don't call me. Thus, Benjamin hardly listened to what I had to say. Feeling frustrated, I decided to think that Emma was still unsettled right after giving birth. But 3 months after Emma gave birth, I still hadn't met my grandchildren. Worried, I decided to visit their house. Taking care of William and the newborn must be hard, so I prepared some side dishes. Just in case, I sent an email before going, but got no reply. I got no reply, but I wonder if it's okay to go. If they refuse, I guess I can just leave the dishes at the doorstep and go back. I really want to see William and the newborn. I just couldn't suppress that feeling. Hesitantly, when I rang the doorbell, Emma came to the door. Emma, congratulations on your childbirth. I just really wanted to see my grandkids. Huh? She glared at me with an unmistakably annoyed expression. I also brought some dishes, knowing how hard it can be to do chores with kids around. Just as I tried to hand her the bag, she deliberately dropped it. The food in the containers scattered all over the ground. This is really troublesome for me, you know. She then stepped on the scattered dishes even more. That's just too much. When I tried to stop her, she sneered, "This is what happens when you do things like this." But that's no reason to waste food. That's such a waste. Oh dear. Now the entrance is dirty because of you. Please clean it up. And in front of my stunned self, she slammed the door shut. I can't remember doing anything to be hated this much. In the end, I couldn't just leave it there. With a heavy heart, I picked up the trampled dishes and went home. That night, my son called. Please, don't interfere with us at all from now on. Why would you say that? You're bothering us by showing up uninvited. And you even said something mean to Emma. Shocked, I explained that it was a misunderstanding and told him about what happened today. There's no need to step on the dishes, no matter what. You probably dropped them yourself. Don't blame others. That's not true. No matter how much I explained, my son wouldn't believe me. Realizing it was futile, I pleaded to at least be allowed to see William. William says he doesn't want to see you. That can't be true. Why? Because he's got a mom now, obviously. I was so shocked I couldn't reply, and the call ended with nothing but the dial tone echoing emptily. Half a year later, on William's 6th birthday, I desperately wanted to at least give him a present, so I visited my son and his wife's house alone. I might be turned away again, but I hope they'll at least accept the present. However, when I arrived at their house, there was no car in the driveway. Maybe they went out for William's birthday. Thinking it was unsafe to just leave the present at the door, I rang the bell just in case. Then, I thought I heard some noise inside. Is anyone there? As if responding to my voice, I heard a metallic sound. Something about it caught my attention, so I went around to the backyard to peek inside the house. But all the curtains were closed, and I couldn't see anything. Was it just my imagination? Then, I noticed some movement through the frosted glass near the kitchen, which had no curtains. Peeking closer, I faintly made out what seemed like someone lying on the ground. Could it be someone has collapsed? But the door was locked. At that moment, I realized I had the keys to house, which originally belonged to us, and I had kept the key on my keychain. So, I slowly unlocked the door and went inside, where I could hear a faint moaning sound. Who's there? Are you okay? Cautiously approaching the source of the sound, I found my grandson, William, collapsed in a corner of the kitchen, looking emaciated. William! What happened? Noticing my voice, William slowly opened his eyes and looked at me. Can I have some water? I haven't drunk in 3 days. His voice was weak, and his eyes were vacant as he lay there, chained and unable to move. Why has this happened? I tried to unlock the chain, but it was locked with a padlock, and I couldn't do anything. Reluctantly, I filled a cup with water and gave it to William to drink. Where are your dad and mom? They're not here. Thinking of calling my son, but feeling something was terribly wrong from William's gaunt appearance, I felt it was better to keep silent for now. So, I called my husband instead. Honey, something terrible has happened to William. Come quick. My husband, who was dining nearby with a friend, arrived at my son and his wife's house in about 20 minutes. William, Grandpa's here now, everything's gonna be all right. Just when I thought everything would be fine and I felt relieved, my husband, with a fierce look, confronted our grandson. You little punk! Don't mess around! To my astonishment, my husband started scolding William, who was already weak and listless. What are you saying? I asked my husband to unlock the chain, but he only touched it briefly and then, for some reason, stopped immediately. Why? Don't give up, do something. I was irritated and scolded him for his inexplicable behavior, but he just left silently. Grandpa hates me too. That's not true at all. He was probably just shocked. William, you are our treasure. But Dad and Mom said they don't need me. Tears welled up in his beautiful eyes, and he looked so forlorn. I stroked his cheek and wrapped him in my coat because he was lying on the cold floor, shivering with fever. I can't leave him like this. While I was calling for an ambulance on my cell phone, my husband returned with a man I didn't recognize. The man had a large pair of pliers in his hand, which he used to cut and remove the chain from my grandson. Sorry about earlier. That wasn't meant for William. My husband explained, his words actually directed at my son and his wife. My husband, looking into William's eyes, apologized, saying he couldn't forgive them for making a young child suffer like this, and his outburst was because of that. William nodded in understanding. Soon after, the ambulance arrived, and William was taken to the hospital. At the hospital, William was diagnosed with malnutrition. He seemed to have caught a cold due to the cold, and many tubes were connected to his frail body on the hospital bed. The sight was so pitiful that it brought me to tears. Thanks to IV therapy, William slowly started to regain his strength, and from what we heard, it was indeed my son and his wife's doing. Apparently, they had chained him up before leaving 3 days ago to ensure he couldn't follow them and hadn't returned home since. I guess it's better if I'm not around. William told us everything through his tears. That's not true. For Grandma and Grandpa, William is very important. Nodding along, my husband and I gently stroked his hair and held his small hand tightly. I'll never forgive them for putting young William through this. Then, the man who helped my husband save William came to visit the hospital room. He was a friend of my husband's, offering to help us out. As we got more details from William, the full story gradually became clearer. A few days later, I called my son pretending to be unaware of anything. I bought a birthday present for William, so I'm coming over to deliver it now. Eh? That's too sudden. William's caught a cold, can we do this another time? Oh, is that so? Then I'll take care of him. Plus, I'm already at your house. I actually knew they were coming home that day because it was marked on the calendar on the wall. My son was still saying something over the phone, but I pretended not to hear and hung up. Waiting at the front door, soon after, Benjamin's car arrived, and he and his wife got out looking flustered. Where have you been if William's sick? We went to buy medicine. The house is a bit messy, so please wait here. My son and his wife said as they went inside and locked the front door. Peeking into their car, I saw 2 large suitcases. They must be lying about just going to buy medicine. Do they really think I'd believe such a lie? Quietly entering the house, I found my son and his wife frantically searching for something, Benjamin still holding a chain in his hand. Moreover, Benjamin was still holding a chain in his hand. What's that for? Pretending to know nothing, I pointed at it.
Whoa! You scared me! How did you get in? We locked the door. Well, this house belongs to your father, so I had a spare key.
My son was speechless at my unexpected reply, but ignoring his confusion, I took out a document from my bag and handed it to Benjamin. It was William's hospital discharge summary.
William is in the hospital right now. What?
I told them how I found William chained up 4 days ago and took him to the hospital. The couple made an awkward face and clicked their tongues.
How could you do something so terrible? Shut up. How we treat our kid is our business.
My son showed no sign of remorse, claiming William had become an inconvenience to their family of 3. He said since Emma had their child, William's presence had become bothersome, and they started to see him as a nuisance. Furthermore, they chained him up and withheld food as a punishment for misbehaving, which supposedly made him quieter. This escalated to binding him with chains whenever they felt irritated. As a result, William gradually weakened.
We were hoping he'd just die while we were on our trip, so we could make up some excuse and be done with it.
I couldn't help but glare at my son and his wife as they callously dismissed the situation.
That's horrific. Coming into our house uninvited and meddling.
Emma even yelled at me.
This nuisance of a woman, we didn't want that kid anyway. What are you going to do about it?
The thought that these were my son and his wife filled me with dismay and frustration. How could they treat William, the most important thing to us, like this? Annoyed, I couldn't help but snap back at them.
I understand how you feel. Then let me raise William. Really? Are you serious? That's great. Yes, of course.
Hearing my response, my son and Emma smirked with a distasteful joy.
If you're willing to take him, we should have handed him over sooner.
Their selfishness made me tremble with anger, and I had to restrain myself from slapping them right then and there. But I held back my anger.
Are you really okay with adopting William?
After they nodded eagerly and raised their arms in a cheer, I watched them from the corner of my eye as I opened the front door. Then, a man suddenly appeared, causing my son and his wife to look as if they'd been shot by a cannon. This man had helped cut William's chains.
Who's this guy? He's a lawyer friend of your dad's. Huh? What does a lawyer want with me?
Looking completely clueless, my son and his wife faced me as I calmly explained.
Taking away William's freedom, not feeding him, and neglecting him can result in serious charges.
The lawyer nodded vigorously, making my son's complexion change instantly.
You're kidding, right?
The lawyer had already heard the story directly from William and had begun preparing various things.
We've taken photos as evidence and have the hospital's diagnosis. The hospital has already contacted the police.
The two of them started to panic and exchanged glances. But there's no proof we did it. Trying to find a way out, I pulled out a voice recorder from my pocket.
I forgot to mention, I've recorded our entire conversation.
My son froze for a moment but still seemed unwilling to give up.
Getting the police involved is no joke. It's true. And we have a baby daughter to think about. This will be trouble. Exactly. Think about the kids. It's cruel.
The audacity of them trying to use their children as leverage, after what they'd done to William, made me feel nauseous.
That's fine. I've already discussed everything with Emma's parents.
Suspecting that my son and his wife, who had left William behind to go on a trip, hadn't taken their baby with them, I called Emma's parents and found out they had left their own child at Emma's parents' house.
You're lying.
Emma tried to call them, panicking as she couldn't get through.
Your parents were furious. They said they're cutting ties with you, so maybe they've blocked your number. What do we do now?
Suddenly, my son and his wife began to fret.
Don't worry. Emma's parents have agreed to take care of your daughter. After all, you're going to be arrested.
My son then looked at me, trying to appease me.
What's fun about doing this to your own son? You told your own son it'd be better if he were gone. I heard it from William.
Unable to come up with an excuse, my son and his wife just mumbled incoherently.
William has been scarred for life. I'll never forgive you too.
Suddenly, they started apologizing repeatedly like crazy.
Sorry. We won't do it again.
Ignoring their pleas, I began calling the police, prompting my son and his wife to make a break for it.
Stop right there. You're not getting away with this nonsense.
But my husband was waiting at the entrance and caught them both.
Waiting here like this, Dad, that's low. Shut up, you fool.
My husband's face turned red, and his cheeks trembled as he glared at my son and his wife. Even then, as they tried to escape the situation by struggling, the lawyer lent his strength and helped hold them down.
That's right. We're cutting ties with you for good. Enjoy the cold inside your cell. We won't do this ever again. We'll take good care of William. Please, just let this go. The answer is no. Feel the cold and thoroughly reflect on your actions.
Desperate not to be caught by the police, my son and his wife continued to plead, but there was no way I would forgive them. Subsequently, when taken to the police, the severity of my son and his wife's actions led them to face serious charges. The little savings my son and his wife had were processed by the lawyer for the children's support. Moreover, we sold the house my husband owned, where they lived, to ensure they couldn't return. Left without money or a place to return to, and cut off even by Emma's own parents. I wish them to experience the full extent of hell in their future life. Fortunately, children have incredible resilience. William quickly recovered and was discharged from the hospital. We officially welcomed him as our child, determined to shower him with love and care alongside my husband. Now, I think I'll make William's favorite fried chicken today. He's sure to be delighted.